Nuestra danza se llama.
We call this the dance of the little old men, the craftsmen of Jaracuaro, Michoacán.
En nuestra antigüedad, al principio eran morenas.
They used to be Indians,
Pero luego, al llegar,
but when the
los
Spanish
españoles
came, they passed their blood
nos
on to us,
transmitieron la sangre,
and a new way
nos
of thinking.
transmitieron otra ideología, y por eso ahora
We have wooden
usamos
masks
la
now,
máscara,
but it's
no
not to
como
make
burla.
fun.
Muchos dicen que
A lot
como
of
burla,
people
pero
think we're mocking them,
es la
but we're
máscara
not.
que el
The mask
mestizaje,
represents the mingling of
el
Spanish
mestizaje de la-
and Purepecha
de la
blood.
sangre hacia los purépechas. Anteriormente, pues como no usaban ni máscara.
They didn't
porque
used to use masks because their faces were naturally old. That's why we use masks now, to make us old. That's what the wooden masks are for.
La ansiedad. Por eso usamos las máscaras de madera.
The dance of the little old men had long been lost in ancient memory, but these days the whole country's infatuated with it. And it's all thanks to a few families in this little village, the cradle of the dance's new life.
Aprendí de mi padre, me enseñó todo la.
I
la
learned it all
música,
from my
el
father.
baile.
He taught me the music, the dance, and the song. And now I'm teaching that little girl over there to dance. That means it won't disappear. These little girls love it, so we're going to train them. So soon there'll be a group that's just the little ones.
Puros pequeñitos. Yo creo que es muy importante.
I think that's very important. Our Purepecha culture was being lost, but now we're saving it. Because it's very important to us to preserve our dances, our language, our traditions. And now, the whole of Mexico knows us for this dance of the little old men. And we can continue to be who we are.
Pátzcuaro is the largest of the towns that border the lake of the same name. It's at an altitude of 2,000 meters, and you can see its long colonial past, both in its architecture and its racially mixed population. It's nice to see that rather than dissolving their identity, the mixing of races in Mexico tends to reinforce the roots of the indigenous peoples. When I arrive in a place I don't know, I usually let my instincts and my senses guide me. The sounds and the smells of this town naturally lead me to the marketplace. I adore the weaving crowds and the bright colors of the vegetable stalls, but they're not what interest me the most here. A few streets away, there's a temporary market that's a lot more unexpected and has a rather special theme. Amongst all the skeletons and death's heads, I find the papel picado, the perforated paper used to decorate the walls of houses, or more commonly, as garlands to string across the streets and the squares all over the town. I can't figure out what these sugar skulls are for and the other foods like them. But they tell me that, when the time comes, they'll be used to feed the dead.
Gracias.
The hundreds of skulls I saw last night at the market are still haunting me, and I want to find out more about the attitude Mexicans have to this image of death. So they tell me to head for Capula, a little village a few kilometers from Pátzcuaro, where las Catrinas were born. Sensual, feminine, and very unusual figures.
I'm a father. I've got 4 children, as well as my daughters-in-law and my nephews. I teach all of them our culture. And as you can see, I'm not alone. Our whole family works here in the house. I make the mold. That's the easy part. Then everyone has a specialty. Some of them do the hands, some of them do the skull, or prepare the clay. It's done in stages, and everyone's very creative. In a way, we found a creative way of selling on a bit of our own land, because we all own the land we live on. It's our right, as long as we work it with respect and honestly. We work collectively, and that's good for us all. That's why it's very important to have this harmony in the family. La Catrina is our source of income. That's why we make them. But it's also because she's a part of tradition. One of the characteristics of Mexico is that we're not afraid of death. It's our friend and a part of us.
La Catrina is inspired by a complex mix of different symbols. For example, the figure of death, which is always present in the collective unconscious of Mexicans, or the symbol that runs through Mexico's history of woman as the guide of the people, or again, with her extravagant clothes, a critique of bourgeois society by way of the unmistakable Frida Kahlo, whom every Catrina to some degree resembles.
We're not afraid of death. People ask us why we make these death figures if we're not scared to live with the idea of death. Well, we live with death. We sleep next to it. Why? Because sooner or later, it'll take us all away. We're very aware of that. But for the Mexican people, death is more of a friend than an enemy, because it treats everyone the same.
Porque no tiene preferencia por nadie.